Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone, and it is a first Sunday of the new season tradition, where I hunt down all of the top players of the last season on the Infinite Leaderboard and tell you what they played. In addition, in this video, I'll be making predictions for the coming season, the decks I expect to be best at the end of the season. Also, we do accountability here, where I will tell you how I did with my decks last season, as far as predicting what the meta would be. The top 6 players of the September season, I know it said top 5, but top 5 has a better ring to it than top 6, were ShuriEnjoyer, who had 9,790 snap points. He finished slightly behind BigBaby, 9,798, which was behind Payaba, 9,944. And then the top 3 kicks off with Barzy, who's been in the top 3 for several seasons in a row, at 10,055. Barzy was taken out by the returning Jeet. Jeet is back after a hiatus from Marvel Snap as Phoenix Force is good again at 10,091 and number 1 for the second season in a row. Only the second player to ever finish number 1 2 seasons in a row. It is Derek at 10,299, 200 snap points ahead of anyone else. Derek absolutely dominated this season. Hey, before we go any further, we bring you more exclusive Marvel Snap content, and I think that's worthy of a sub, which as we try and hit our goal of 15,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. We're at 14,000, so we have 2 months to get 1,000. If you're willing to sub, it would mean the world to us, and in return, we will give you consistently the best decks in Marvel Snap that you can't find anywhere else. A like and a comment also tell that YouTube algorithm to show us to more people, which in turn helps us grow. So if you're willing, please do so. In addition, we give away about 15 season passes a season. We give away 5 at the end of the last season, 5 in the first week of the new season, and then we give away 1 a week for the rest of the month. So we are giving away 1 Agent Venom season pass this month. And I'm just going to tell you straight up, Agent Venom's a card you want. This is one of the best cards on Marvel Snap. It is an absolutely stellar, must-own, must-have card, and you can get it here for free. I know that says Symbiote Spider-Man. Leave me alone. Same giveaway. All right, our giveaway winners for Agent Venom are Zathius and Robbie Rob 666. Congratulations on your wins. Please reach out at any of the ways on the screen to claim your free Agent Venom season pass. All right, number 6, ShuriEnjoyer. ShuriEnjoyer is on the American server. He's a Brazilian player, which means he's off Twitter right now, which means you can get his decks mostly through us if you're interested in seeing them. ShuriEnjoyer played 3 decks, Destroy, Bounce, and Sizer Move. So the Bounce came from It's Guess Gaming. I believe there was some collaboration, some communication there. Both of them live in Brazil. ShuriEnjoyer has his own Destroy, and it's amazing. This is the first time we've seen Destroy this high in the Infinite Leaderboard in my memory. And of course, the Sizer Move is one of the best decks in the game. It's one you should recognize. So Bounce Tech Log is a really interesting list to climb with, especially to climb this high with. The reason it's so interesting is fundamentally it only has one really power win condition, that card being Werewolf by Night. And this was a very heavy junk meta, which Viper helps with, right? But this was a very heavy junk meta, which means to win with this list, you needed to be really, really clever with snaps and retreats. You needed to be very careful clogging lanes of opponents and being able to win with lower power stuff. Yes, you can get a couple of hoods, and like 3 hoods, 18 power, that's comparable, right? A 9 power rocket really helps. But what's really working here is your control card, Shadow King and Shang-Chi, along with Werewolf grabbing a lot of power. Bounce has moved on from this type of build now, but this was one of the better ways to play the list last season. Sizer Move is still one of the best decks in Marvel Snap. I believe that Hercules was cut for Doctor Strange in the version that that ShuriEnjoyer played, but this is a nice standard move list. This is like this has become the standard move list in Marvel Snap right now. It's still one of the best decks. It still has a lot of answers for everything in the meta. It is quite good against Hela, where Cosmo on a Madam Web and Alioth give you a lot of gameplay into that matchup. When you combine that with the power of just being able to Heimdall and saying I go over the top of everything, or just like the double moves up from Hercules, or the huge human torches you can make using Cloak, and so on and so forth. And this list is very, very, very powerful. I strongly urge people to give this one a try. It's one of the best decks in the game. It's had one of the best stat rates in the game for well over a season, so give it some run. Finally, we have ShuriEnjoyer's Destroy, and this Destroy came into fruition when Aranya came into the game. Aranya basically gives you an extra way to pump Deadpool. You're not against pumping X-23, Wolverine, or anything else here, but it's an extra way to pump Deadpool in this list, and if you can start Deadpool with 3 power, he just gets bigger so much faster. And if you can pump Deadpool to 3 power and then Hulkbuster him, you're really, really going to win a lot of games of Marvel Snap. That's fundamentally the entire process here. I think that this deck's going to get better later this month when Aranya just becomes Agony. Agony is a 1/2 that the next card you play there, it merges into it, so you're going to use that for Deadpool instead of this. But I think that this is this kind of low-cost pump is a really powerful tool in Destroy's arsenal, and there are worse things to do than play Destroy right now. It can go over the top of everything, and it has Killmonger for some pesky matchups that run a lot of ones. All right, number 5, the actual top 5. We're going to kick off with BigBaby, aka Dr. Stink Fartson. BigBaby is one of the best players in the world. He's constantly near the top of the Infinite Leaderboard when he competes to be. BigBaby played 3 decks that I'm aware of this season, mostly. We're going to go in order. The first one is BigBaby's Men. That is a multiple man move list. And then we've got a double monkey list that's really good. It's like a double, it's a She-Hulk double up that also runs Hit Monkey. It's one of my favorite lists, to be completely honest. I think the current bounce list might have overtaken him, but it is very, very strong. And then we have Stinky Smooth, and I'll show you exactly what Stinky Smooth is. It's a Yo Woody MJ list. And please note, Yo Woody MJ for the first season in many is not in this video as the top 5. So the first is BigBaby's Men. This list was great until junk took over the meta. If you're not seeing a lot of junk, this deck puts out an absolute ton of power. Moving a ton of multiple mans all over the place, whether they be Hulkbustered, Aranyad, or Symbiote Spider-Man, or some combo thereof, is super strong. You can make yourself a gigantic Human Torch and still have enough power to win elsewhere with Vulture and Dagger. Very cool list. I don't think this list is quite as good as the previous list, the Sizer move that we looked at that ShuriEnjoyer played, but it is seriously, insanely fun. Next up, we have the Moon Monkey list. This one is saying I can do the classic good old double up my cards, then Black Swan them for free, go double She-Hulk, play a bunch of free ones, and Hit Monkey. You're passing energy left and right, so Sunspot makes a lot of sense. If you you can even play if you go Hope into Moon Girl, you can pass that turn and get a free She-Hulk to go with your double Hit Monkey nonsense. Your Sunspot gets huge from passing. You should know where opponents are going to play at the end, so Rocket is great. This list is really, really strong. Hydra Bob, you should not have priority because you've barely played any cards. You can Shadow King off their stuff because you don't have priority. Hydra Bob is just a ton of power. Rocket's a ton of power. You're playing 15 power in free ones, which is plus 6 power to Hit Monkey, which you could have 2 of while you're playing free She-Hulks. This list is insane. It's through the roof power. It's super duper fun. Wasp helps you manage your hand size. That's ultimately the real reason she's here. You don't really want a double Wasp. You just want to be able to say, okay, so I need to get rid of a card so I can double Monkey or She-Hulk or Hydra Bob or Titania or whatever, and this gives you the power to do that. Lovely, powerful list. Play it. You will not be sad you did. I think that this is one of the most underrated lists in Marvel Snap. And speaking of underrated lists, this was my winningest list last season. There is one card different. I thought I actually shared the updated one. Baby cut Silver Sable and added Shadow King. That's the whole difference in this list. You don't really have a lot of scalers, as in you have 0 scalers. Shadow King not only lets you counter stuff, it lets you get rid of a hazmat negative lane as necessary on your side. It lets you do some fix your Valentina card. Valentina is not really important here, but she's occasionally powerful, right? Like sometimes you'll get like a 4/11, and you're perfectly happy to play a 4/11. Although Man Thing is basically always a 4/11. Silk is great here. It gives you access to a 1/6. It moves all over the place, just causing all sorts of trouble. If you're seeing a lot of Scream, this list probably isn't the best. But even then, you have Luke Cage, so like it's not the end of the world. We're going to talk more about this list in tomorrow's video. Spoiler alert. But this is one of the best lists in Marvel Snap, and it is again my highest win rate list of that last Symbiote Spider-Man season. All right, Payaba is a player on the Agent server, and played, the only thing we know that this player played, from thank you to Jet and RS Barry, is Werewolf Bounce, and this is the Werewolf Bounce list. Sometimes there was a US agent in it, and sometimes there was not. This is the I don't know. This is like the standard werewolf bounce list of last season, more or less. We've got Shadow King and White Widow as an extra bit of spice here. Shadow King being obviously very strong at countering cards. And like you sort of for this version need werewolf and monkey. It's harder to win without them without really careful placement. But this list says I don't really care about that. I've got Shadow King to handle that. I've got enough Clog to handle that. Sable, Hood, Rocket, etc. should be able to steal a lane, and then Hit Monkey wins the lane that's contested, and then you win the game. Black Swan is incredible. Activate Black Swan is one of the best and most underrated cards in Marvel Snap, and Payaba used this to finish in the number 4 spot. Cool. Let's get to the top 3. We've got Barzy, who's on the European server. Even though he lives in Israel, he's on the European server. Barzy had 4 decks that we have: Affliction, Junk Affliction, Miracle, and Bounce. So the Affliction list is this one. It's sort of like a moveless Stinky Smooth. It's saying I don't need to bother playing move nonsense. I've just got enough power to go over the top. Supergiant counters a lot of the meta. It's really good against stuff like Hela. It's really good against stuff like Bounce, which is trying to use their turn 5 to get stuff going. They play Supergiant, and you're just like, well, poop. There's not much you can do about that. Then they can drop Ajax there. They can drop a bunch of cards there and leave you no way of knowing what they're doing. Cosmo, if they can predict the lane right, is good, or like you can drop Ajax and then you can go like Cosmo has met other shenanigans on the last turn of the game, and then that Cosmo will turn off because you know what lane their stuff's going to reveal in and can win there. This is one of the best Supergiant lists ever in Marvel Snap. Then we have the Meta Breaker. This is a list that still sees a lot of play. This is basically Ajax Affliction. I think Barzy's playing this right now. I need to actually message him. I'll do that after I finish recording. But because this list is showing really great stats at top level Infinite, and it's basically just saying I afflict, I go big. I like Ajax so much better than Red Hulk in this kind of list. I would actually cut Red Hulk for Cannonball, but what the hell do I know? Barzy's the one who finished in the top 3. Then we have Barzy's Miracle. This is an amazing combo deck. Our friend Perry Manilow is still playing this after I sent this to him for a Stream Team video. It is basically saying, I go over the top. You can drop Killmonger behind Invisible Woman to win the bounce matchup. You're so big that Hela has nothing on you. Like, this list is very cool. Unless your opponent counters you, and Move is ultimately the counter to this because Move runs Goliath, then this is an insane list. You can go Phastos into Gwenpool into Sarah and then just go absolutely off. Then we have Barzy is Coping. This is the list he ultimately ended up playing to the top 3. He was chilling in the top 10 with those previous lists, and then took this all the way to number 2 and was taken out of the number 2 spot on the last day by Jet. So this is last season's best bounce list, period, bar none. Barzy is Coping because he didn't think this was going to be that good. And then this ended up being arguably the best deck in the game at the end of the season. It could struggle into some occasional junk stuff, but you do have Beast and Falcon for that, so it was a matter of drawing the right cards to counter the right types of junk. But if you could do that, you would absolutely win. You have Werewolf, Monkey, and Sage, so you have 3 power carries. You have Swan to let you go off at the end of the game. Stellar list. Again, Bounce has moved on from this as well, thank you to Agent Venom, but this list is insanely good. Like, utterly and insanely good. If you want to play this with Agent Venom, feel free, just make Hawkeye be Agent Venom. You'll be totally fine. All right, finally, we have Jet at number 2. Jet's on the Asia server. Jet has Peef Metamweb and then Peef Aranya. Jet is the Phoenix Force player. He's famous for being number 2 in the 2nd or 3rd season of the Infinite Leaderboard. To Lambi, who was not properly reset, absolutely dominating the Infinite Leaderboard with Phoenix Force. It's the only thing he really plays, the thing he most consistently plays, and he's the best Phoenix Force player in the world, and it's not particularly close. So we have Jet's Madam Web Phoenix Force, which is a list that's fundamentally trying to it's sort of similar to that men list that we looked at from BigBaby earlier, where it's saying I can do my Phoenix Force thing, and if I can't get my Phoenix Force going, I can do some Symbiote Spider-Man shenanigans. This one lovely has the Nico Minoru Symbiote Spider-Man combo, which is if you get the double spell, you can double Nico, and then you Symbiote Spider-Man, and it's going to redouble to give you a 20 power card, which is pretty freaking nice. There's a lot to like about this list, and then you're just trying to win another lane using your big old Human Torch or whatever the hell else. Cool list, lots of power to it, worth playing. Not the best version, though. The best version is this one. This is the one that Jet played to number 2. Jet is phenomenal with this list. I don't know else to say it, like, unbelievably good with this list. This is the list he's still playing. Arnim Zola occasionally becomes Goliath in the list. I think actually is now Goliath, but whatever. So basically, you can make yourself a huge Deadpool using all the stuff, and then you can Zola it this way, or then you could try and win with Goliath in the other version of the list. You can make yourself a huge Torch. You can do the Phoenix Force combos with Torch or Multiple Man. This list is through the roof. We covered this in excruciating detail the day that we covered it in a video. This is one of the best lists of Marvel Snap, but it needs like 100 games of practice. Jet has played it for thousands of games, and that's why he's able to finish number 2 on the Infinite Leaderboard with it. Props to Jet for a ridiculous finish late in the season. He was top 10 basically all season with various versions, and then when Aranya came out, it was just like a steady climb. Hey, if you'd like to see gameplay from these decks, please check out the stream team. Today is Sunday, and Obihaved is streaming relatively soon. Please go check out Obihaved. Get your Twitch drops over on Twitch from Obihaved. He'll have a video up with this tomorrow, but he's also giving away a season pass, courtesy of me, for his first day on the stream team. Welcome to the group, Obi. That should be Obi, not Ovi. Oh my god, I can't type. I'm so sorry. Obihaved. Cool. All right. So Derek doesn't stream. He just wins. Again, second season, top of the Infinite Leaderboard. He's on the EU other leaderboard. He's from the EU, or lives in the EU, but he's on the others leaderboard server. Decks from him: Derek's Miracle, his Clog, his Bounceless Bounce-ish list, his Noki, the doubles, and then the Move Annie to finish the season. The Move Annie, by the way, is an exclusive. We're going to talk about it for the first time, I believe, here. All right, so Derek's current best list at the time of the start of the season was Goose was giving a lot of play in terms of controlling the board. In a very big early meta, Goose would obviously be cut nowadays, but this list was hilarious because everyone was like, what the hell, Sentinel? And they played it. It was like, oh, Sentinel. Just having the repeatable 2-3 was really, really strong here. This list is quite good. The meta has moved on from it, though, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. Derek's Clog list was quite different than the others. It was a Cersei Clog list that basically said, I can clog one lane and then I can win another with Cersei or Cannonball, and then you just sort of go from there. If you can Cersei on 5, your Mockingbird is often free with Cannonball, and it's really hard to lose in that point. This is really cool list. Again, the meta has gotten so powerful that this one is sort of gone, but it is quite cool. Then we have Derek's No Miracle. Derek didn't play this much as everyone else. This one sort of became a meta deck. Goose ended up cut from it relatively quickly. Again, Derek loves Goose, but Goose is not consistently in the meta. This one puts up a ton of power, and it's quite good. Derek's current list that we're going to see later is like a descendant of this, but this is, again, very, very good because I don't know if you know this, but Gwenpool into Mysterio is silly, silly power. We've got a better card to play into Mysterio now, right? But this is a quite good deck. Then we've got the Yesnoki, which is sort of similar to this, except it's doing the move package because, well, Dagger and Vulture get really big with one move. We do a lot of work to get and we use a lot of cards to get Werewolf to 9 power. Vulture, it's one move, and you can basically always figure out that one move. Nocturne is here because the week this one came out was the same week that the Storm thing was everywhere, the Storm War Machine Legion thing was everywhere, and Nocturne gave you play easy win into that, so did Quake, but that's why they're here. Shadow King is a perfectly fine replacement. This list is still very good. I think I deleted this from my game like literally a day ago because I was still winning with it and having a really good time with it. Then we've got the doubles. Derek played this for most of up to the last week of the season. Then we'll get to the last week of the season list. This is basically saying I can go Moon Girl and play 1,000,000 cards, or Gwenpool and play 1,000,000 cards. I'm going to be honest, despite how powerful this deck is, I think the version that Baby runs is more consistent. This one is this one rewards better play, but the other one is more explosive, and you get more cubes from it. But Derek plays consistent Marvel Snap, and that's how he climbs so high. He just plays like he grinds you out, and this is a grinds you out type of deck. And then this list that we've never featured in this form before is the list that he finished with number 1. This one is built specifically to beat all of the freaking Clog everywhere. It's got the old school Annihilus package with Sentry and Hood, and then it's got a lovely move package. And if you don't want Annihilus, you have Viper to do the same basic gist, Shadow King to stop other things. Really cool list. I don't think this list can really compete into the bounce meta because, well, it's too easy for Bounce to like stuff your Annihilus and then still be able to compete. But it's still a very, very strong list, and one I urge you to check out. Again, we're just saying like Dagger big here, right? We're not even really bothering with the second move card. We're saying dagger, get big. I've got enough clog and junk to win. And this ended up basically taking over the clog meta of the last week of last season. Hey, if you're interested in checking out our Patreon, we're going to talk more about this later, but the $1 Patreon tier comes with two really cool things. It comes with first a deck archive of all the decks from our previous videos from the past like month and a half. We've also got access to tournaments. We run a giant league tournament with over 200 players every other month because it takes 2 months to complete. So if you want to participate in that, and we run weekly like single elimination quick tournaments. So if you want that, that's the $1 tier. Our $5 tier on Patreon comes with early access to all these videos. Basically, as soon as I make them, I put them up on the Patreon and you can watch them, get ahead of the meta, because a lot of the times I'm trying to show you the best decks as fast as possible. Decks have the highest cube rate early when no one knows what the hell they're doing, so there's extra value there. You also get access to me for deck builds and stuff like that. And then and you get priority Patreon answers. And then the $10 tier comes with a shout out in every video and at least one weekly exclusive video. So if you're interested in that stuff, please check out the Patreon. It would mean a lot to us. We're trying to get one-ish new person a week, 1 to 2 new people a week. So if you're willing to be that person, we'd really appreciate it. If you're already subbed, consider going up a tier if you find value. All right, top 5 decks to watch in October. So we've got Sizer's Move Lockdown, Gnome's Bounce, Husky/Comey's Hella, Andre Var's Wicked Jacks, and Derek's Good Stuff. I think I might have one more that I would have put on if I had done this slightly later, but I'm pretty confident on these decks. So last month we hit on 4 out of 5, and the miss was Hella. So we're going to put Hella back to the top, and we'll talk about why when we get to that Hella list. So first, this is Bullying Sizer list. I got an Infinite Border with this list. Sizer's currently ranked number 1 on the Infinite Leaderboard, and he's got a 70% win rate with this. I don't know how to put into perspective exactly how completely stupid that is, but the top of the Infinite Leaderboard is usually like a 56-57% win rate player because they're playing only the best players with only the best decks. Sizer's playing only the best players and only the best decks, and he still got a 70% win rate. That's utterly absurd. I'm not sure he's going to stay there all season. I'm sure if the meta can adjust to this, but this is the best deck in Marvel Snap right now. And if the meta doesn't adjust, this is going to stay the best deck in Marvel Snap. Like, utterly absurd right now. If this lasts all season, I will be surprised. But people aren't good with move. Like, if you check the win rates on the trackers, this is barely a 50% win rate because most people kind of suck with it. So, I don't know. Maybe this survives just because, like, only top players can play it. Either way, it would not surprise me in any way, shape, or form if this stayed at the top of the leaderboard. Then we have this is actually Gnomes, not Woody's. I misheard who made it in the first place. This is the meta deck right now. This is a lot of what the top of the leaderboard is playing. And then everyone started running like Invisible Woman Killmonger, so this went away for a little while. So that's going to be the give and take of the season, people figuring out how much and how often that they're able to play this. Agent Venom in Bounce is completely insane. The 2 cards you really want Agent Venom are Mysterio and Hood. But look, starting with 4 on Sage, Bishop, Sable, and Rocket is silly. This list is insane. You are losing 1 on Beast, but so freaking what? Black Swan and Agent Venom are both in their own rights, depending on your hand. Snap Conditions, which gives Bounce a really clear early bounce snap condition. I love this list. This is the best Bounce list in the game, in my opinion. Some people are running Werewolf over Bishop. I think that's wrong. I get why they're doing it, but I think that's wrong because you don't always have space to move stuff at the end of the game. All right, I grabbed Den's version of this. So Husky made the original version of this, and then when everyone thought it was dead, Comey's took this into the top 30-ish. Comey's is the Italian world champion of Marvel Snap. Husky is like the Hella lover of Hella lovers, even though Bounce is his best deck. So Comey's brings us back to the top 30 in Marvel Snap when with Luke before the Hell Cow change. And then Hell Cow changes, and everyone goes, oh, this deck is crazy. And its win rate didn't represent how crazy it was for a while. And then, so people stopped playing it at the top of the leaderboard because Junk was really bad for it. But Junk is kind of gone now because of Bounce. And Crazy, the person who is number 1 on the Infinite Leaderboard, the only person besides Derek to ever back-to-back number 1 on the Infinite Leaderboard in both, whatchamacallit, May and June? No. March and April. He did it in March and April with Thanos. Started playing these 12 and had like a 65% win rate and started dominating the Infinite Leaderboard again. So I'm just saying, perhaps Hella back and I'm going to pick it again. And if it's not in the top 5 this coming season, then I'll give up on it as a top 5 deck and just think it's an amazingly powerful and annoying deck, but not top 5. But for the time being, yeah, it's there. All right, next up we have FAK Vips Win from Andre Var. This list has a 60% win rate in High Infinite right now, and I think this is the most slept on deck in the game. I think this is where you want to be for Wiccan. I personally want more 2s in this list, but I mean, what am I going to do? This list's win rate is utterly insane. This is one of the best decks in Marvel Snap right now, and you'd have to be a fool not to at least consider it. It dies to Hela, but it's got really, really great gameplay into bounce and almost everything else. So give this one a try. We've got Derek's Good Success, which is sort of a Agent Venom Noki list. So my working theory is either bounce or this is going to make it. My logic here is that if bounce gets chased out of the meta, this kind of deck is where you want to be as far as playing your low mid-range stuff. And I think Agent Venom gives low mid-range stuff just enough power that you really, really, really want to be there. I really like the Bast Agent Venom combo. I know it seems silly, but sometimes you draw your Mysterio. You're like, if you open your hand with Bast Agent Venom, but you have Mysterio, Havoc, and Bishop in your hand, right? Like, you're just like, all right, Bast, great. I'll just take an extra free, I mean, it's an extra 5 power on Mysterio, right? It's an extra 3 power on Sage or Bishop, and it's an extra 3 power on Havoc, and you're just like, all right, cool, let's do it that way. And like, you're perfectly fine. Extra 6 power instead of 7 power on Hood, right? You're just totally fine with that being the situation, and thus this deck is great. I think that this is one of the places the meta is going to start to run to as the bounce counters start to mount. I think bounce is too good to ever go away, but this is like the counter punch deck, and I think it's going to be great. Questions of the day, and then we're out of here. Our first question from Greg is fun. Wants to know my thoughts on a new card acquisition method. And I'm going to be honest. I think that because Snap is so successful, they'd be foolish to change it too much. They should probably figure out a way to make it feel better, right? Whatever packs are, hopefully can feel better than the current system. I'd assume packs, at least my theory is, packs will be spending X amount of keys, either 2 or 3, hopefully 2, or X amount of tokens, probably 3,000, to try and open for a new card. And you can open a bunch of packs, and like packs are going to be guaranteeing you more cards. Is that better than what we have? No, and I don't think they can get rid of what we have because A, it's making them so much money, and B, players like me have hoarded so many resources. You don't want to piss off your whales that it's a problem. I think I'm hoping packs are use X resource, either keys or tokens, or some combination thereof, to open for XYZ. Right? And I think that would be a really interesting way to do it. It gets rid of the need for spotlight weeks and says you have a greater chance of getting a new card this way. And then they just have to figure out what else, because some of what else will be variants, some of it else will be like speeding you through Series 3, and some of what else can be tokens or some refund of those resources. I think that's a cool way to do it. If it's about as generous as the current system, I'm fine. If you optimize the current system at all, you should be relatively fine, even as a mostly free-to-play player, even as a season pass player. But it feels bad, and having an acquisition system that feels bad while being generous isn't ideal. MTL asks how to best understand those you disagree with, particularly in politics. Fair warning for any of you who don't want to see this. This is a good time to end this video. Cool. So it depends what you disagree with. So this is always super controversial because I'm very liberal, but I understand why certain people don't like abortion. I think the way it's legislated and run is a huge problem. I can understand, even if I don't agree, where the moral objection would come from. It's a conversation I'm willing to have and disagree with. I understand the value of life. When it comes to the value of property over human life, I get extremely frustrated. There's an old, like, when property damage versus people being killed becomes the question, I'll always side on the side of people being harmed or killed over property, over money, over anything like that. And I struggle to find the balance there. I'm not going to pretend I don't. I think as long as what you really care about is people, we can start to have conversations. Like a lot of people that were traditionally on the right that aren't as on the right anymore as I've gotten older. His argument was that charity and so on charity and like union work and so on should be the way of like redistributing wealth instead of like greater taxation or greater government, or not more, even more than greater taxation, greater government involvement. And that will always boggle, like, I can have that conversation. I don't agree with it. It boggles my mind. I don't think it like is accurate to the way the world works or the way we can be successful, but I understand it. Um, a good barometer to me has always been how people feel about unions. Um, because I know a lot of right-wing people that are very pro-union, and I think that that creates a really interesting dichotomy because unions are A, fundamentally a socialist tenet, but B, I think that like unions and more like worker equity in their jobs is one of our best paths forward to a better built society. Like, I think if you work 7 days a week at a job and your boss never goes in, you should start to earn equity, not just money. And you should be earning more money because you're fundamentally running that business. I think that kind of thing should change. But like, and I think one of the paths forward to that is union and profit sharing and so on. Unions and profit sharing and so on, as like can lead to that if we're intelligent and wise about it. But like if you're like super anti-union and super anti-government and are just like money is what matters and people don't, then I don't know if I want to agree with you and see your point of view. Um, and it's really hard to argue with people whose base opinion is disinformation. So when I first got my COVID vaccine, um, my mother and stepfather are fairly right wing, and my mother walked into my house. I mean, by fairly, I mean like stupidly, and started trying to stick quarters to my arm because they had heard that the vaccine made you magnetic. Because there was some, I don't know, I don't know how to have a conversation about that and put myself in your shoes when you're believing things that are like factually and displayably untrue. Um, like the current Haitian thing where it's like I would revoke these people's legal status even though they did everything right and legally is just hateful and harmful, and I don't think I want to put myself in those people's shoes, right? But if you're willing to like have a conversation about how to be a better person, one of my big frustrations with adults is like not virtue signaling, it's like the lack of wanting to be a good person, lack of conversation about what it means to be a good person and considering what you do and how you treat people. And I think the importance of doing that cannot be overstated. But if you're trying to best figure out how to be a good person, then I think we can usually have a conversation about it. But if you're figuring out how to best be a good person and your answer is like those other people should just suffer, they're not real people, I don't know how to have a conversation anymore. Or like just believing complete insanity, right? Like Pizzagate or like stuff like that. I don't know how to comment on just like straight up not believing facts and like real information. I don't know if that answered the question, but that's the best I got there. All right. This is the Patreon tier support where I say thank you to my Patreons. So thank you to Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, who I hung out with on Friday night on a Discord call and had a great time. Thanks, Burnout. It regardless, it is a word. David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, L. Late B. FaThorNewman, check him out on Twitch. Good Dog Gamer, Inc. Graphite Fan. I am Frostman. You are Jay Neverread. Corwin, not in Q-Town. Primed Ryan and Ryan Burke, the Ryan twins. Kirtix Lee, Koirei coming all the way from Japan. Our friends will be sons. Our sons will be friends. Our sons will be whatever. Black Dahlia, my alliance leader. If you want to join our alliance, please do so. Pyrofros, the great Pyrofros. The Goat Seeker. Hey, Goat Seeker. Den Man Falcon, check him out on YouTube, please. Archangel 3K. Our newest friend, Hollowed. Every time I see the name Hollowed, I think of Hollow Wicked, which is like for a freaking early 2000s Chikara wrestler, and I should probably get that out of my head. Quid Pro Joe. Doc, the king of new Marvel Snap card content. Good luck on your move, my friend. Fat Nick, Mr. Kerfuffle, Ginger Prime, who I also hung out with on stream on Friday and had a really good time. Ratgo, the king of all of our shorts. Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, Xforce V, and Skippy G. Tommy Nyquist, who won Snap Judgments League Season 1. The King of Bros, Brett, the Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Woody, Kev Sihoda, Luna Chris, it's Q-Town time, baby. Quantum Quinn, John Q, and Jimmy McHugh, Clam, 8th Sage, Mod Supreme Models, Darth Tater, Joe P, no Joe K, Steven, First Name Gang, Brian Kaufman, and just Nate Martin, Jason B, who is crushing our taking over our deck archive. I lost the word deck archive in my head. J.T. McDonaldinho, The Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrumix, Woot, Matt H, DJ, Mikey, Hijinks, No Freaking Flex Oculars, Mr. Cricksterry, BG, Jonesy. Check out the Triple Threat on YouTube, please. Two Ties, The Great Lorma Devs, The Pirate King, Tuccrr, who had a blast with one of our decks on Friday. Make sure you check out the YouTube video for that. The Homie Min, we miss you, buddy. And of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for. Would you like to see some more videos from us? Please check that out right here. We've got a Pokemon video, a Snap video, and you can sub right below me. See you either later today or tomorrow. I don't know what order I'm putting these up in, but we got a lot of videos coming. Peace.